Pictures and headlines from the war in Ukraine are flooding social media and news outlets, and many parents are concerned about how their children are processing everything. We spoke with 4 parents whose children range in age from 5 to 20 years old. They told us about the conversations they've had with their kids and what worries them the most.
As a former social studies teacher, I want my girls to know what's going on in the world. I want them to pay attention and I want them to care, but certainly not at the risk of their mental health.
You want to make sure that even the stress that you have as a parent doesn't necessarily get relayed to your children.
When they do not ask, that's when you start to wonder, what do you know? What do you not know? What questions you have? What are you worried about? What are you thinking?
To get a lot of information from, having conversations with their peers and what their peers related information from what they see on social media.
So for me, my 12-year-old, one of the first things he asked me was if this was going to turn into World War III. And I don't know. What do I say? I'm worried too. How do we make them feel safe while also validating that there's something really awful happening in the world, and there's a lot of kids and families who are struggling.
Clinical psychologist Cynthia Martin of the Child Mind Institute joins us now to share her advice on how to navigate these tough conversations. Good morning, and let's start right there. How do you have this conversation while still making children feel safe right now?
Absolutely, it's an important question, and one of the pieces to first recognize is that this is a big topic, and these are hard conversations for parents to navigate with their children. And so first and foremost, we want to think about putting parents in the driver's seat. So parents are the ones who are going to have the best control over the information and be able to talk to their children about it in a way that conveys facts and it is developmentally appropriate. So we do want to try to get to kids before they've heard about things through school, through social media, and
easier
kids,
said than done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And kids are going to hear things through social media and at school. And so as parents, we want to be opening up the conversation with them and bringing up the topic so that they know that there is a place to talk about it and they know that their parents are available to listen to what their fears and concerns are.
As a young parent, I used to think that ignorance is bliss because there's certain things that I don't know about. So I didn't feel bad about sharing details with my kids about what's going on outside the home. But as I got older, I realized that ignorance is causing hesitation in the home when my kids have real questions. So is it okay to just say, I don't know to your kids?
Absolutely. And you should say, I don't know, when you don't know. What you can do as a parent is you can tell your child that's a really good question. Make sure that you validate the emotion that's coming behind the question, and then turn it and ask your child more questions. Because sometimes the question that a child is asking and what we think they might be asking and what they're really asking are two different things.
I got you.
So by asking them more questions about just something open-ended, tell me some more about that. Where'd that question come from?
What do you think the answer is?
Exactly. Yeah. That opens up the floor for more conversation, more questions. And then if there are some questions that are important for you to answer for your child, let them know that's a really good question and I don't know the answer to that, so let me look.
You asked where that question comes from. Is it important to find out the source of where this curiosity derives from?
It can be, and it's going to vary a lot based on the child's age. So teens especially, they're not getting most of the information from their parents. They're getting information
School.
Exactly. And most parents aren't as into it as their kids are, or even if you think you're into it, you're probably not included in the same way your children are.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you have some oversight and some control over your child's social media use, as well as really opening up the stage for those conversations so that your child knows if they heard something or saw something on social media, maybe even when they weren't supposed to be on it, they can come to their parent and talk about that.
So, Dr. Martin, I thought this was a really interesting question that we got from one mom. Her name is Theodora Lau. She wanted to know, is too much information a bad thing? Is it okay to hold back certain details, especially when you see some of the horrific images that are coming out? Even the front page of the New York Times a couple of days ago had that stark photo taken by Lindsay Addario that showed what's happening in Ukraine. Is that too much for kids?
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to limit and control what a child is exposed to, and we want to do that based on the child's age. It needs to be developmentally appropriate. So there are a lot of news outlets that are appropriate for children, and present things in a factual but more developmentally appropriate way and leave out some of the details that are going to be too upsetting for a child to be able to process. Because we have to keep in mind that our kids, even though some kids come across as very mature and very eloquent in the way they speak, and logically they're saying a lot of things that make sense, just where they are in terms of their development and their brain development, there's going to be a discrepancy between what they can ask and logically try to explain and where their emotional reasoning is.
One of the things my parents used to do with me is give me the newspaper or take me to the library if I wanted to understand the historical context of what was happening in the world around me. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good idea, and I think that worked at that time in place.
What are you trying to say, doctor? Not that old.
It's a different world now, Vlad.
The world before the internet.
Yeah, I think when you were going to the library, things were more
There was a thing,
curated.
children, called library.
Yeah.
You said that so diplomatically to Vlad.
Send this message by pigeon. Glad you're not that old. Cynthia, thank you so much. This is valuable information. We appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.